At some point in life, most people start wanting less. Less traffic, less noise, less pressure. Not isolation, just peace. Australia is full of places like that. Not the ones you see in travel brochures, not the towns that real estate agents won't stop talking about, but quiet towns, beautiful towns, places where life slows down instead of speeding up. The kind of towns older Australians remember, before everything became crowded, expensive and rushed. These are not places for chasing careers, they're places for sitting on a veranda, for morning walks, for knowing your neighbours, and most importantly, places where everyday life is still affordable. Today, we're looking at 10 hidden Australian towns you've probably never considered, but maybe should. Places that prove you don't need millions to retire well. You just need the right postcode. We're not starting with the coast everyone already knows, and we're not talking about anywhere that's already been discovered. These are the quiet ones, the overlooked ones. Let's begin. The first town sits in South Australia's Riverland region. It's called Loxton. Loxton doesn't shout for attention. It never has. It sits quietly along the Murray River, surrounded by vineyards, citrus groves, and wide open skies. Life here is gentle. Mornings start slow. People wave when they drive past. And the river sets the pace for everything. There's no rush hour, no packed cafes, no pressure to keep up, but there is community. Doctors, shops, and services are all close by. The hospital is local, and if you need something bigger, larger towns aren't far away. What makes Loxton special isn't luxury, it's balance. You can live close to nature without feeling cut off. You can enjoy the river without paying coastal prices, and you can still afford a comfortable home without sacrificing your lifestyle. It's the kind of place people move to for a year and then never leave. Next, we head inland to New South Wales. Not to the coast, not to the mountains everyone flocks to, but to a town quietly sitting on the edge of the New England region, Uralla. Uralla is historic, charming, and surprisingly affordable if you're not chasing city life. The air is cooler here, summers are mild, winters are crisp, and the town feels like something from another time. Old buildings, wide streets, locally owned shops. There's a strong arts and craft community, but it hasn't been overrun. There's history without hype. People come to Uralla for space, for calm, for mornings where you can hear birds instead of traffic. Housing here remains realistic, especially compared to nearby regional hotspots that have already exploded in price. Uralla suits people who want character over convenience and peace over popularity. Now let's move north, but not too far. Into Queensland, away from the glossy coastal towns, to a place most Australians only drive past. Monto. Monto sits quietly inland, surrounded by rolling hills, farmland, and national parks. It's green, it's open, and it's calm. Monto doesn't try to impress anyone, and that's exactly why it works. The cost of living here remains low. Housing is still accessible, and daily life doesn't demand much. You'll find a hospital, local shops, and essential services without crowds or congestion. There's fishing nearby, walking tracks, country pubs with familiar faces. Monto suits people who are comfortable with simplicity if you don't need shopping centres, constant entertainment, or nightlife. This town offers something far more valuable. Stability. For our fourth town, we cross over to Western Australia, but not to the coast everyone talks about. We head inland to a place many people overlook entirely, Katanning. Katanning is an agricultural town with deep roots, wide streets, big skies, a slower pace. It's the kind of place where people still greet each other by name. Katanning has quietly improved over the years. Healthcare has expanded, services are reliable, and community support is strong. What keeps Katanning off most people's radar is distance, but for the right person, that distance is an advantage. Housing prices here remain some of the most reasonable in the country. Daily expenses are manageable, and there's no pressure to keep up with anyone. Katanning is not flashy, it's not trendy, but it's steady. And for many people, that's exactly what retirement should be. These first four towns all have one thing in common. They were never designed to impress outsiders. They were built to support locals, and that's why they still work. And this idea of towns built for living, not impressing, continues all across the country. Our next town takes us back to New South Wales, but far away from the coast and far from the places people rush toward. It's called Bingara. Bingara sits quietly along the Gwedir River, surrounded by farmland, bushland, and wide open skies. At first glance, it doesn't look like much. And that's exactly why it works. Life here is gentle. The river runs through town, providing walking tracks, picnic spots, and a sense of calm that never really goes away. People fish here, they garden here, they take their time. Bingara has the essentials, medical services, shops, a hospital nearby, but without the constant pressure of growth. Housing remains realistic, daily expenses are manageable, and most importantly, you're not paying a premium just to exist. Bingara suits people who want nature close, neighbours nearby, and stress kept to a minimum. From there, we head south, but not to Victoria's popular coastal towns. Instead, we stop in Donald. Donald sits in Victoria's Wimmera region, surrounded by open farmland and endless skies. This is a town built on agriculture, not tourism, and because of that, it's remained quietly affordable. Donald is flat, easy to navigate, and designed for everyday living. Doctors are local, services are close, and nothing feels rushed. There's a strong sense of routine here, the kind that brings comfort rather than boredom. Morning walks, regular faces, conversations that don't feel forced. Donald isn't for people chasing excitement, it's for people who've already lived enough life to know what actually matters. Now we move back into South Australia, but not to the wine regions everyone already knows. We head further inland to Peterborough. Peterborough was once a major railway town, busy, important. But when the railways changed, the town changed too. What remained was strong infrastructure, solid housing, and a community that knows how to look after itself. Peterborough has wide streets, heritage buildings, and a calmness that comes from having already seen its busiest days. Life here is simple. You're close enough to larger centres if needed, but far enough away to avoid crowds and high costs. Housing here remains remarkably accessible, and daily life doesn't demand much. Peterborough suits people who want space, history, and predictability, without isolation. For our 8th town, we return to Queensland, but again, not where most people look. This time, to Charleville. Charleville sits deep inland, where the sky feels larger and the nights are quiet. This is a town with real services, including a hospital, but without the pressure of population growth. Charleville has always been a hub for the surrounding region, and because of that, it has remained practical rather than flashy. Living here means understanding the climate, respecting the land, and appreciating quiet. The cost of living is steady, housing remains accessible, and community ties are strong. Charleville is for people who don't need distractions, they need reliability. By now, a pattern should be emerging. These towns aren't hidden because they lack beauty, they're hidden because they don't advertise themselves. They weren't built for investors, they were built for people, and that's why they still offer something rare: time. There are still a few places left, and these last towns are often the ones people remember most, because they don't just offer affordability and calm, they offer something harder to describe: a sense of belonging. Our 9th town sits in Tasmania, but not in the places most people rush toward. Not Hobart, not Launceston, not the tourist trail. This town is called Sheffield. Sheffield sits at the foothills of Mount Roland, surrounded by farmland, rolling green hills, and crisp air. It's known quietly as the town of murals, but that reputation never turned it into a hot spot. And that's a good thing. Life in Sheffield moves at a comfortable pace. Summers are mild, winters are cool, and the scenery never feels crowded. People come here for the landscape, but stay for the rhythm of daily life. Healthcare is accessible, shops are local, and larger centres aren't far if needed. Housing remains far more realistic than mainland alternatives with similar beauty. Sheffield suits people who want fresh air, quiet mornings, and a town that still feels human-sized. Our final town takes us back to New South Wales. But again, far from the usual retirement choices. This one sits quietly near water, without the crowds or price tags people expect. It's called Corowa. Corowa sits along the Murray River, where life naturally slows down. The river shapes the town, not just physically, but emotionally. People walk, they fish, they sit and watch the water move. There's a calm here that doesn't need explanation. Corowa is large enough to support proper healthcare, services, and community facilities, but small enough that nothing feels overwhelming. The town has history, but it doesn't live in the past. It has beauty, but it doesn't market itself. And because of that, life here remains manageable. Corowa works because it was built for living, not selling. That brings us to the end of this list. 10 towns, 10 places most Australians never seriously consider. And yet, each one offers something increasingly rare in modern Australia: space, calm, affordability, and time. These towns don't promise excitement, they don't offer luxury. What they offer is stability. You don't move to places like this to impress anyone. You move to them because you're done being impressed. Because at some point, life stops being about accumulation and starts being about comfort, about mornings without stress, about knowing your neighbours, about living within your means without feeling restricted. Australia still has places where that life is possible, but they don't stay hidden forever. As cities grow more expensive and crowded, more people start looking elsewhere. And when they do, towns like these quietly change. That's why knowing about them matters. Not to rush in, not to speculate, but to understand that a different way of living still exists. If one of these towns stood out to you, not because it sounded exciting, but because it sounded right, that's usually the sign. Because the best retirement towns aren't the loudest. They're the ones that let you hear yourself think. And that, more than anything, is what makes them worth considering.